What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV. Welcome back to another Good Morning Tottenham, and match day is upcoming tomorrow. We've got Southampton at home, 7:45 kickoff at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And you know what? It's a game that always throws up goals at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, that's for sure. Both teams usually likely score, but we usually win that game as well. So I'm excited for the game tomorrow. I think it's going to be a good game of football, I really do. And Southampton are a team where you don't really know which Southampton are going to turn up, but you do know they're going to attack, don't you?
Yeah, they're definitely a very attacking team. Although, you know, they've definitely shown, especially last game we played against them, that when they need to, they can defend resolutely. If they've got something to fight for, the two draws as well against Man City this season have also shown that. So they're no mugs. They're not a team which are very easy to play against. But if you definitely play them in the right way, if you make sure you're as intense as they are in the early parts of the game, and especially if you can take the lead, then the task can become a bit easier, because once they break out their shell and they become that very attacking team, they leave spaces in behind. If you're in the lead and you can just counter-attack on them, they're actually not too hard to play against. But if you go behind and if you allow them to settle in the game, they can become a bit of a hard nut to crack.
Yeah, look, we'll get into how we think they're going to set up and the match preview in a second. But what I wanted to cover before we do cover the game is today marks Mousa Dembele retiring from the game. Obviously, he's been spoken about as the GOAT of the Tottenham midfield. Every player coming out and saying what a player he was to play with alongside in training on the football pitch. And most recently, actually, I was watching a video on YouTube with Japhet Tanganga last night, and even he said it. And I don't even remember them being in training or playing together, Tanganga.
And who?
Dembele.
I'm trying to think. He must be a youth player. He must be a youth player, because I don't think ever been in the first team together. But obviously Tanganga made his debut in 2019, and Dembele was long gone by then.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, Mousa Dembele, he's going to be well missed by the footballing world. I know he's obviously been in China past few years, and he has said he's not retiring immediately. He's going to wait till the end of his contract to retire. But
is that end of the season?
He said he's got one more year left, so I'm guessing.
Oh, right. So he hasn't retired just yet.
No, but he said he's retiring at the end of the contract. And there's always a case of what a player he was, but also what could have been with Mousa Dembele.
Definitely.
He was an unbelievable talent. He was an incredible player. You could not get the ball off him. He was amazing off the ball and on the ball. He was the most press-resistant player I've ever seen in my life. But there's always a case of what could have been with him if he had added a little bit more to his game. He really literally could have been one of the best players in the world instead of just one of the best players in the league, which is a reality. But you have to appreciate the quality he had, and our midfield hasn't been the same since he's gone.
Yeah, and he was, as much as we say, you know, he was the best, one of the best midfielders in the league for a time, he was nowhere near at the top for as long as he should have been. And, you know, he came to Spurs. How old was he when he came to us under AVB?
He was about 24.
He came to us at 24 with a big reputation from Fulham. Comes in,
maybe older, 25, maybe.
Scores on his debut straight away. Was it against Norwich? And then, he didn't really proper get to grips with things under AVB. It really took for Poch to come in and really unearth his kind of qualities, and he had such big moments for us. I mean, big games against Arsenal, Man United, Juventus, just games rolling off my head. I mean, I think Real Madrid was one of them as well, where just single-handedly he would literally just grab the game by the scruff of the neck and pretty much put us in the ascendancy all on his own. I mean, the guy was an immense talent. Like you say before, you just couldn't get the ball off him in midfield. When he was in the mood, he was the best player on the park every single time.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Exactly. And teams didn't know what to do with him. And I think he allowed our better players. I think technically, in terms of shooting, passing, through balls and that kind of finishing, that kind of stuff, he wasn't the best. But what he did was he allowed us to keep the ball pretty much for 90 minutes, and it gave more space for the likes of Eriksen, Dele, Kane, Son to really flourish and be devastating in the final third, because they knew that if we lost the ball, he would get it back, and if he was being pressed, they could make a run knowing Dembele was being pressed, because they knew he was going to wriggle out of it and they would be in space every single time, and it was the perfect combination. He chipped him with a few goals, obviously, but he was never a regular goal scorer.
Nowhere near as many as he should have done.
Yeah, even because I actually think he had decent shooting ability, actually, for the amount of goals he scored, which was also, I felt like, a bit of a shame. But as you say, yeah, he went into his own when Pochettino got in charge. Even then, it took him a bit of time to break into the team, but once he did, he never left, and he became one of, if not the best, centre mid in the Premier League for a time before injuries caught up with him. But he was an exceptional player, an exceptional talent, and he'll be remembered for a long time around Tottenham for what he did for those few seasons under Pochettino. And I think Premier League midfielders were probably happy when he went to China, because they didn't have to deal with him anymore, because he was just a nuisance all the time. I wish him well in retirement, and hopefully see him back in the lane at some point.
Yeah, and he never did get to play at the new stadium.
No.
He put out that tweet with that kind of mock-up image of the stadium saying, "Can't wait to play here." So come on, make it happen, guys. Make it happen. Let's bring him back. Maybe for Hugo Lloris's testimonial. I mean, he would have been here for 10 years next year, so it'd be great to see Mousa Dembele back. Look, it was always a shame because of injuries, always kind of held him back. What were your favourite Mousa Dembele moments?
Favourite Mousa Dembele moments? The thing was, Mousa Dembele was never he was never that kind of player where it was just like one or two moments which really stand out. For example, when you talk about Dele Alli, you talk about that goal against Palace, and you talk about his brace against Real Madrid, but it wasn't but Mousa Dembele was just a completely different kind of player. He wasn't a player with proper standout moments like that. He was all about in game, all the small things in game which add up to you winning the games. And I just thought, obviously, he had great performances. I remember Man United at Wembley when we beat them 2-0. He was absolutely fantastic in that game. And one thing as well, which also probably made us love Mousa Dembele even more, was he always seemed to have an amazing game against Arsenal. Yeah. He always seemed to step up against Arsenal, always dominated that midfield. And I remember once at the Emirates, he won a penalty, went through 3-4 players and won a penalty, and we got a draw. I remember loads of times against Arsenal where he was just dominating the centre of the park. I remember against Jack Wilshere one year where Wilshere didn't even get a sniff. He was just completely dominant.
It's funny you mentioned Jack Wilshere, because I was actually watching an interview with him the other day. They asked him who the hardest player you ever played against was, and he said Mousa Dembele.
Well, there you go. That shows it. So he was just a player for all games, not just moments. He was not a moments player, but didn't take away from his unbelievable ability. And it was amazing to watch as well when you're watching him live. The way he was unbelievable. The way he just shoves people off. As people used to say, he was like a ballerina, but he was so strong. He would be fleet of foot. He would swerve past people, but also if someone came to try and bully him off the ball, he would just shove them away like they were nothing. Yeah. It was like a bull and a ballerina at the same time. It was incredible.
Footwork was just second to none. Footwork and strength to match it. I mean, what a player. And the one game that really stands out in my mind, obviously Battle of the Bridge, where obviously he tried to gouge out Diego Costa's eyes, which was funny, I guess. But I think that whole game really encapsulated that. But that Juventus game, when we were 2-0 down and got it back to 2-2, I mean, we were there in Italy, and what a performance that was.
Yeah.
What a performance, man. And to be honest, that wasn't even his best performance, because he put in carbon copies of those performances time and time again in the big games. He was very much a big game player.
Yeah,
very much a big game player.
And it's just a shame. All the players say, who knows what could have been if he was still at Spurs when we got to the Champions League final. Yeah. That's what that seems. Trippier says it a lot. I mean, but if Trippier's saying it, it must have been a feeling around the dressing room. He doesn't just say that in isolation. So as much as I understand why he was sold, a big part of me still thinks if he was there in the final, who knows what could have been. I'm not saying we would have won, but you just never know. Definitely our chances would have been better. And so again, it's another thing what could have been with Dembele with his talent and with his time at Tottenham. But he looked at the end of the day, he did want to leave, and we got money for him, and that happened. But who knows if he just stayed another 6 months, he could have been a Champions League winner.
Maybe. But look, that's that. We'd like to thank Mousa Dembele for all the service he's given to not just Spurs, but to football as well, because he's been an immense talent. So looking forward to seeing him back at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium if and when he does come back. Hopefully it can be for something like Hugo Lloris's testimonial, which would be a special moment. But let's move on and let's start with the Tottenham against Southampton match preview, 7:45 kickoff, a game which I'm very much looking forward to. There's a good feeling around Spurs right now. There really is. And I think if we can kind of take that good feeling into this game, we should be coming away with 3 points. When you're looking at the past performances, past games between Tottenham and Southampton, like I said before, it's a game that throws up a lot of goals. At home, we usually do win the game, so I'm quite confident that we can take all 3 points. But we've got to be wary of Southampton. I mean, you were mentioning before how Southampton have one way of playing, and that's attack, attack, attack. But that's not really what they did earlier on against us this season.
Well, they did, but they went down to 10 men, and once that happened,
that's true.
They shut
That's
shop.
true.
They actually dominated us for the
in the first half. I mean, I think they did play a good attacking football, but I don't think it was like that gung-ho approach which they usually take.
No, I think for things with the Southampton, they definitely like to attack. They're a very, very offensive team, but when they need to defend, Hasenhuttl has shown that they can. As I've said before, 2 draws against City this season. You don't get 2 draws against City unless you're a team that's capable of defending. And obviously, when they went down to 10 men against Spurs, they obviously defended really resolutely. I know they got lucky with a few VAR decisions, which probably should have gone our way, but they did defend very resolutely. And I think they've probably learned a lot of lessons from Hasenhutl's time in charge, because he's been there quite a while now, maybe 3 or 4 years. And there were times where they went down to 10 men. I think they had 2 9-0 defeats, didn't they? One to Leicester and one to Man United, I think, didn't they? So I think maybe they've learned from that.
Was it Man United or Man City?
I think Man United. They lost 9-0 to Man United. And because I think they were down to 9 men in that game. And I think they've learned a lot of lessons from those kind of games. And maybe they haven't been as attacking as they used to be, but they still have that in them, and they still set up in that 4-4-2-2-2 formation. And when they do get into full flight, they can be very difficult to stop with 2 central strikers who like to run in behind, who have a bit of pace, flying fullbacks, usually very, very quick wingers as well on the flanks. So they can be difficult to play with. But on the flip side, if you are smart against them and you make sure that you're stopping them from building up any momentum and you're stopping them playing football, you match their intensity, they leave a lot of gaps going the other way. And if you can take the lead against them and force them out, then all of a sudden they can actually be pretty easy to play against, because there's so many gaps to exploit if you get it right. So it's all about Tottenham coming out of the game in the right way. If we start the game like we did against Brighton, same intensity, same aggression, we'll be fine. I'm sure we'll be okay. But if we allow Southampton to get in the game, especially if we allow Ward-Prowse to get in the game, he's the one obviously who's been brilliant for them this season. If you give him set pieces, if you allow him time and space on the ball, then they can really hurt you.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And if we do, we need to come out the blocks quickly tomorrow. And if we can get that early goal, I got a feeling the floodgates could open tomorrow night, and we could be on for quite a convincing win. When you're looking at the form of the two sides, obviously Spurs a bit of an uptick of form recently. Southampton, I mean, they're very much a Jekyll and Hyde side when you're comparing them home and away. At home, they're a very good side and a tough side to beat. But away, they're very much a different side. Only 1 win in their last 6 away games, and that was against West Ham, funnily enough, in a 3-2 win. They've lost to Norwich away from home this season. I mean, they've lost a lot of games away from home, and I think that them coming to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, we have to be in the ascendancy. We have to be on the front foot, and we have to hit them early. And if we do, it should be convincing, shouldn't it?
Yeah. I hope we hit them early, because I think they showed when they drew 0-0 to Man City at the Etihad early in the season that if you don't get that early goal and you allow them to settle, it can all of a sudden become very difficult. When they did draw their last game, actually, it was at home to City and they drew 1-1. And funnily enough, it was Salisu who was man of the match, and he was absolutely brilliant.
And he was brilliant against us in the first game at the St Mary's.
No, but he got sent off.
Salisu?
Yeah, he was.
Oh, sorry, I was thinking of that Man City game.
Yeah,
sorry, I was thinking of that Man City game.
I'm saying that's what I was about to say, because against us, he was actually pretty rash, and he had got himself sent off right at the end of the half. And maybe he's learned from those moments. And against City, I thought he was absolutely brilliant, and he was like man of the match.
A week or two later, that game, and I remember watching that game, and I was like, wow, this guy's really improved. That's the game I was thinking about.
Yeah, so if we could get an early goal or a goal in the first half, things can come a lot simpler. But with Southampton, the first 30 minutes usually, they definitely like to come out of the blocks. They like to go for an early goal. That's how Hassan Hutel likes to play. And unfortunately, when we played them at St Mary's, it was actually quite similar. Like for the first half an hour or so, they came flying out of the blocks. We tried to ride the storm, but unfortunately we conceded. And then we did go back in the game. Obviously, we got a penalty. We scored. But once they went down to 10 men, they went back in their shape, and it was very difficult to break them down. Although, as I say, we did a couple of times, but they got lucky with VAR decisions. But if you can ride out the storm and make sure you don't concede in those opening 30 minutes, then once you are taking the ascendancy, you should be like, there's so many gaps they leave. You should be able to win the game, but they're tricky. They can be tricky opposition.
You know what a perfect example of that is when they played Arsenal, right?
Yeah,
they played Arsenal at the Emirates. When they played Arsenal at the Emirates, first 10-15 minutes they were all over them, battering their goal, couldn't find that goal, and then as soon as Arsenal took the lead, that was it. It was pretty much game over that game. So I think that's a very important example of what Southampton are going to bring. They're going to try and kind of smother us in the first 10, 15, 20 minutes. And if they don't get that goal, it can get quite dangerous for them. But if they do get that goal, we're in for a game.
But it's interesting against Southampton. In the last game we played a 3-5-2. We played Son and Kane up front. I think we played a midfield three of Dele, Winks, and Højbjerg. And we had Lucas on the bench, and I think Lucas came on at half time when they were down to 10 men. So it'll be interesting to see if Conte thought that was a tactical plan for that specific game, or maybe it was because of injuries he played that, or whatever. But it'll be interesting to see what he does in tomorrow, if he thinks 3-5-2 is the best way to combat this team with two in the centre. Because do you go with that two midfield in the centre against them and just match them up, and then you have those three players up front who can really hurt Southampton's back four? Or do you try and dominate the central midfielder by putting three in there, and maybe you sacrifice a bit up front? It's interesting because last year with Mourinho in charge, we put the two up front, didn't we, with Son and Kane? It was devastating. But against them at St Mary's earlier this season, it was weird because it was actually Kane and Son. It would have worked if I remember it was 2 or 3 moments where if Kane actually does the right pass, he would put Son in, but he got it wrong 2 or 3 times, and then we didn't and then once the second half happened, that space wasn't there, and because they were down to 10 men, so we were forced to change it.
And obviously we had that goal disallowed, didn't we?
Exactly. So I wonder if he still thinks 3-5-2 might be the best thing in this game, or do you just stick with the 3-4-3 that we're playing?
I think he's gonna set up the same way as we did against Brighton. I got a feeling it could be very, very much a similar team. Potentially one of the only change. Well, we'll get into it in the predicted lineup, but I was thinking one of the only changes could have been Bentancur for Winks, but. When you're looking at the Southampton team, like you say, it's like a 4-2-2, 4-4-2 kind of system. The players that they have out, McCarthy, Smallbone, Teller, Vojinovic and Broja, which is probably their big miss is their striker Broja, because I've been quite impressed with him since he's broke into the team. Obviously a player on loan from Chelsea. He's tall, he's strong, he's quick, knows where the back of the net is. And he's a player that's kind of burst onto the scene this season, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's a teenager, I think 19 years of age, 18, 19, and he's really impressed me as well with his direct style, running in behind, decent finishing as well. So he's going to be a big miss. Obviously, they've had Adam Armstrong, who had a good start to life at Southampton, but hasn't quite gone as he had hoped. The goals have dried up quite dramatically. Shea Adams, who I've been a big fan of, hasn't had the season he would expect, really. Only 4 goals, which is disappointing for him, and a lot of the time he's also been left out. So I think Broja will be a big miss, but with Armstrong and Adams up front, they still have pace, and I think Shea Adams for me actually is quite a good passer as well. So there's something to watch out for, but maybe their biggest threat might be from set pieces.
Yeah. So obviously James Ward-Prowse is the one that's dangerous from set pieces there. If you bring up the one to watch graphic, you'll see he's their top goal scorer, 6 goals, 5 assists. He's their star man, really. What
Great
a goal
season.
he scored the other week. That free kick. Who was it against, that free kick?
Wolves.
What a free kick that was. I mean, bloody hell, he really picked that one out. Obviously scored a really good goal against us earlier on in the season as well. So he's definitely one we need to look out for. I mean, we need to be very wary of giving out set pieces on the edge of our box tomorrow night, that's for sure. So
Definitely.
that's a message for Christian Romero. Be wary tomorrow night. Because,
Him and Højbjerg.
Yeah, all of them, to be honest, and Bentancur, to be honest, all of them can give away some free kicks. So that's a message to them. But another player in Nathan Redmond, who, look, he blows hot and cold, Nathan Redmond, a lot of the time, but he does get quite a few assists under his belt, as you can see on screen. 6 assists and 2 goals this season.
That surprised me. I didn't realise he was having a decent season, Redmond.
But the thing is with Redmond, like, he's a pace merchant. He's got a lot of pace about him, but he does lack quality quite a lot of the time.
Yeah, but 6 assists is nothing to be sniffed at this stage
true.
of the season,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
That's pretty decent. So yeah, I mean, look, and he is. You're right. He is pace and trickery, and he can get undone. But he actually, I remember for not necessarily for Southampton, but I can't remember who he played for before. Was it Norwich or Birmingham or something? He used to score quite a few goals from outside the box. He used to sort of whip them in quite a lot. So that's something definitely to watch out for. But Stuart Armstrong for me is the player I quite like. I think he's pretty decent as a versatile midfielder who can play on the wing, can play in the centre. He's got a pretty decent finish on him. He's like he's a bit like He's a bit like Thomas Muller in a way that, like, he's very deceptive in what he's good at. He's like, no, he's not amazing at a lot of things, or like he's not outstanding in a lot of things, but he's actually pretty good at, like, he's got half decent pace, he's got pretty good finish, he's got pretty good dribbling, decent passing, and he's very versatile. So he's one definitely that to watch out for. And I don't know if you saw his goal on the weekend. Unbelievable finish against Coventry.
Oh, no, I missed that.
Oh, that's one you have to watch. That brilliant goal. One of the most satisfying goals you'll see this season, I think.
Interesting. A couple more players I want to talk about. Tino Livramento. He's another one that's on loan this season, and I think he's having a sensational season. A young player coming through the ranks. And apart from him, you've got Kyle Walker-Peters as well, who we'll know very well. Scored his first professional goal the other week. And I think he as well is having a really good season. And if he's at Spurs playing like that, he probably gets into our team right now.
Definitely. I think Walker-Peters would definitely be getting a lot of game time at Tottenham if he was still here. And he's been great. He scored a great goal. Then we saw it against Man City last time out. What a goal that was from the right-hand side. He's actually been playing left-back for a lot of the season because Livramento has been so good on the right, but I don't know if he's injured or he's been out of the team recently, but Walker-Peters has returned to the right hand side and he looks a lot better there, and again he's having a great season. And I think Southampton have done well to get him because I think he's probably worth a decent amount now if they ever wanted to sell him.
Would you reverse the transfer?
I wouldn't reverse the transfer. No, I wouldn't reverse the transfer. But
if you could turn back time, would you just offer more for Højbjerg then?
Probably, and keep Walker-Peters. Yeah, but the thing of the whole time was Mourinho wanted a more physical right back, but now with Conte at the helm, he kind of wants someone a bit different. I think Walker-Peters might have been able to work a bit better under Conte. Because I always remember under Pochettino, Walker-Peters, when he ever came into the team, he always did pretty decent.
He always got quite a few assists, didn't he?
And he was always
got
getting
like 3 assists or something.
I think it was like Bournemouth. We beat Bournemouth like 5-0 and he got 3 assists or something. And I also remember when we beat Leicester 5-4 on the last day of the season, I think he got like 2 assists in that game as well.
He always played the first game and the last game and never
Obviously, I think Tottenham fans' memories of him are maybe blighted when Ousmane Dembele rinsed him at the Nou Camp, and then that was a big moment, and that sticks out to a lot of Tottenham fans. But I actually think by and large when he did play, he was pretty good.
You know, you got to give him a pass for something like that, because he's a young player coming through the academy. He gets thrown in the deep end in this massive game in the Nou Camp.
Did he get on his debut? Got man of the match, didn't he?
Yeah, he got man of the match quite a few times actually for us, but you know, he was never deemed kind of good enough ever by the fan base or the club to really stamp his authority on the team. And
I just wish we kept him instead of bringing Matt Doherty. I mean,
Yeah.
for sure, if we had him and Emerson challenging for our wing back, I think our squad would look a lot more healthy at the moment. And I think he's playing quite well, really well at the moment. I'm happy for him. Yeah, I'm happy for him.
Yeah, and I didn't realise. I'm just looking at him now. He scored it in the weekend against Coventry as well.
He scored the winner, did he, in the extra time?
So he scored 2 games in a row, Kyle Walker-Peters now. Back-to-back goals.
And I think it suits him, Southampton. Very attacking side. They allow their wing-backs to get really high up.
But I think this Conte system would suit him as well.
Yeah, I think right wing-back, he's got pace, and he's actually, he's obviously can track back. I think as well, if you look at him, if you remember that game against... when he was at Tottenham, you think of him as a bit like smaller, a bit scrawny, like easy to push from the ball. If you look at him now, he's a lot more built. He's a lot more physical. He's almost unrecognisable in terms of physically to when he was at Spurs. So I think he's much more suited to playing at Tottenham now. And maybe
Peters or DJ Spence.
I mean, I haven't seen enough of from what I've seen of DJ Spence. He looks great, but I haven't seen enough of him on a regular basis. So. We know Walker-Peters is Prem proven, but DJ Spence has played against Prem teams, so he also looks great, doesn't he? I must say. But Walker-Peters, it's maybe even one. If Walker-Peters carries on this form, this might have been one where he does get a bigger move to a better team in the near future. Yeah. Whether it be Tottenham re-signing him, I don't know. But
at the end of the day, he's a Tottenham boy through and through. Came through the academy. He's a Tottenham fan.
You've seen it with other teams. United re-signed Pogba and stuff like. You've seen other teams re-sign players. So, maybe why not? I reckon he would jump at the chance to rejoin.
Chelsea re-signed Lukaku. It happens.
I reckon Walker-Peters would jump at the chance to re-sign for Tottenham.
I'd agree with that. I mean, if he has a chance to actually, fight for the first team spot, I think he would love to come back. I really do. But we talked about earlier about the ways we can hurt Southampton in terms of getting that early goal. But where are there kind of like frailties in the team, and where should we really be targeting?
I think in the centre they're very much all action. They like to like a bit like Højbjerg when he first came. He was like going 100 miles an hour throughout the game. And that's how Southampton like to play with their central midfield players. So if you can because they're so intense, they're so aggressive. If you can beat their press with the central midfield players, because there's only 2 in there. If you kind of play around them and especially players like Romero or even a Bentancur in the centre, if they're pressed and they can beat the press, and all of a sudden there's a lot of spaces on their back 4, they do leave quite a bit of space between their back 4 and midfielders to exploit. So that's definitely an area. If maybe our attackers come a bit deeper, we can definitely exploit centre backs. It happened against Southampton earlier in the season. It happened last season at St Mary's when we battered them 5-2. Their centre-backs like to go with Harry Kane whenever he drops deeper, and that leaves massive holes in the back 4 whenever it happens. And against them, we did exploit it once, which was the penalty, which Son was able to get in behind, and we won the penalty. Unfortunately, a few times the centre backs went with Kane, and he actually picked the wrong pass, or he got the pass a tiny bit wrong and wasn't able to fully exploit it. But that's one element where 100%, if you get the ball to Kane and he holds off their centre backs, they always leave massive acres of space in behind to exploit. That's definitely something that either Son or Bergwijn, if he plays, or Lucas can definitely exploit if he uses the pace that he has. So they're definitely areas, and the wing back and the full backs as well. If obviously with our 5 at the back, they play 4 at the back. So whenever one full back is going to be on the left hand side, if they're crossing it to the back post, there's always going to be a very good chance that there's going to be the wing back can be free at the back post, because if one, say Reguilon has the ball, Walker-Peters goes out to him, then you got Son. Let's say we play the 3-4-3. You got Son, Kane, and Lucas in the centre. They're going to be occupying the 3 defenders, so that will leave either Emerson or Doherty at the wing back always free a lot of the time. So that's definitely a massive place we can exploit them.
And in terms of where they're strong going forward, obviously they're a bit strong on the wings with Redmond. Going to be missing Broker, which is a big miss for them. So in terms of going forward, where can they hurt us?
I think if we're not careful, for sure they've got pace in behind. If I know it'll be 2 attackers up against our 3 defenders, so we should outnumber them. But Adams and Armstrong, Adam Armstrong does have a bit of pace about him, and although he hasn't had the best of seasons, if you allow him a run on goal, he's got a decent finish and he's got decent pace. So definitely that's one way. They do like to get the fullbacks high. They've got very pacey wingers and pacey strikers. They do have a lot of pace in and around the team. So you've got to be very careful that you're matching the runs. You're being very intentional, not allowing them to build up play or momentum, and you're not allowing you're clogging up all the spaces because they live for those spaces. Southampton, they're very good when they have those spaces to play in. And obviously the very big one is set pieces. Set pieces is massive. Corners, free kicks are with Ward-Prowse around, with big centre-backs like Bednarek around as well to aim at. You've got to be careful of that. And he's got a very good shot on him, even from open play as well. So you've got to be careful of giving away set pieces when Ward-Prowse is around.
All right. That is our match preview. Before we move on, score predictions. What are we going for? Sticking with it?
Yeah, I'm going to go with 3-0.
3-0.
Yeah, I think we're going to learn the lessons hopefully from the game at St Mary's. I think with Romero back as well, we're much stronger defensively than we were, especially with this proactive style. And if we can get an early goal, which I'm backing, I reckon Kane could run riot in this game. So I'm going 3-0.
Yeah, I'm going to go for 2-0. I'm sticking with 2-0. I mean, I kind of expect to go for more, but yeah, I'm just going to go with 2-0 just to be safe, and I'm going to go for Kane and again Kulusevski off the bench. So I want to know your score predictions in the comments section below. That is our match preview. Now it's time to get some guests on. Who have we got waiting today? Let's go to Mikey and Leah. You take this one.
Why is it matter?
I don't know.
Right,
Right,
Mikey. You right, Leah?
Hey guys.
You guys, you all right? Good to see
Yeah,
you
I'm
guys.
good.
How you doing?
We're all good.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a little bit uncoordinated right now. First of all, how have you guys been?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good. You know, good feeling within the Spurs fan base at the moment. Good feeling around the club. So let's keep that going.
Yeah. Southampton. Hopefully, we've learnt the lessons from last time. A draw was unacceptable last time. We deserved a win, and VAR stopped us from getting it. I think we're good for this game. I'm very happy with the Brighton performance. I liked what I saw from Kulu and Bentancur. So I'm hoping that that can translate against another South Coast team.
Yeah, so I mean, this game always throws up goals. I mean, you quite confident going into this one?
Yes, I am, and I believe so. So are you?
Yeah, I think the win is definite. To be honest, if it's anything other than win, I'll be really surprised.
Same. I do think that this game is there for the taking. I don't. Obviously, you can't be 100% sure in football. Football always throws up a curveball, and especially with Tottenham, obviously. So I'm looking for 1 or 2 surprises. I would love to see us win and keep a clean sheet. That's obviously the goal for any game. But I'm confident going into this because we've seen that Harry Kane slowly started to pick up form, and I'm happy with how he's going. And Son's back, Romero's back. Not sure what the situation is with Dyer. Hopefully he's
apparently Dyer and Skip are still out. That's what I'm hearing.
They're so expected to miss the game.
Extremely important. That's like so important for Tottenham. So that's pretty concerning. But not your top priority right now.
Yeah.
We say Dyer is really important, and I completely agree with you. He has been really important this season, but with the emergence of Davinson Sanchez, Davis on the left, and we saw how brilliant Romero was in the centre. Is it going to hurt us too much not having Dyer in for this game?
I don't think so. I'm just saying he's an amazing leader. That's like his top quality. It's not even for the defending. It's just his leadership skills on the pitch.
Yeah, he's definitely
He's amazing as a leader.
he's definitely our leader at the back. He's like our Connor Cody, if you like. He barks orders at the other defenders and gets them in shape. I think I hope that we can get him back soon. I'm not slating Davinson Sanchez, but I would prefer a Dyer Davis Romero trio than one with Davinson Sanchez in it. But that's just my opinion. But Davinson Sanchez has done well. I'll give him that. He's done exceptionally well.
But Southampton this season, they've got 2 draws against Man City, home and away. They drew with us earlier in the season. How do we stop that from happening tomorrow?
Again, it's exactly the same thing that I said on the match preview in December. You shut down James Ward-Prowse and you shut down a key part of their midfield. They always play with a 2-man midfield, and James Ward-Prowse is the key in there. His set piece ability is unrivaled, maybe in the Premier League, except for maybe Kevin De Bruyne, and
Definitely.
his passing in midfield is very, very good, and he's definitely the player to look out for in my opinion. But stopping him, as we saw, is easier said than done, because he scored a beautiful goal against us, and since then he's been racking up the set pieces as well. So again, the key is to not give away any cheap fouls on the edge of the box, because he will punish you from them. He can whip a killer ball in, and he can score from a set piece as well. So he's the danger. But again, I'm confident after our display against Brighton that we can shut down most of Southampton's threat, because they have a few injuries. They've got Armando Broja out as well, who's been kind of an underrated performer this season. We're very impressed with how he performed for them. So that's is Tino Livramento back?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. I think he might be on the bench.
Okay,
I think he's a as a precaution or something like that. I'm not sure if he's going to start, but I think he is fit.
Okay, and we've only got, so is Tanganga back for us? It's only Skip and Dyer that's out.
I'm not too sure about
I think he might also still be out as well, but I doubt he's going to play. But one player I want to ask you guys about is Walker Peters, who's been impressing this season for Southampton. Is that one you might want Tottenham to revisit maybe in the future, maybe get him back?
Well, I must say in a back five situation, Walker Peters is very good in a back five, because his attacking quality is better than his defensive quality. I'll give him that. He can play on he can play on the left. He can play in the left wing back and the right wing back. With kind of equal aptitude, he's more suited to the right, I would imagine. But I wouldn't rule out revisiting him if we can like revisit him, because he's very good attacking. If we play in a back 3 system and Conte likes his fullbacks to push forward, then who knows?
Yeah.
He might have been a good option. But he's good. He's very good, but he's good for a team like Southampton. I'm not sure if for Tottenham he's the kind of caliber of player that we need. But I wouldn't say no to him. I'm not going to make out like we can attract the likes of Hakimi and Trent, but I wouldn't say no to him if we were to revisit the option of signing him.
Well, there's 2 right back. I mean, there's a right back that we've been linked with in DJ Spence. I mean, who would you prefer, Spence or Walker Peters?
Oh, because
that's a good one.
Jed Spence has been. I mean, he was good. We watched the half of the game of Middlesbrough versus Manchester United, and he plays for Middlesbrough, or does he play for Nottingham Forest?
He plays for Forest. He's on loan from Middlesbrough.
Forest on loan from Middlesbrough. Sorry, my bad. Anyway, so never mind. But I mean, he was on the side of a team that beat Arsenal, so he goes up in my books a bit for that.
Yeah, and he played really well that game as well. I believe he might have even got man of the match that game.
Yeah, he's definitely one for the future. A lot of teams have been linked with him, but Walker Peters has been.
I prefer Walker Peters, to be honest.
Yeah, because he's been
Really?
proven.
In all honesty, yeah.
He's been proven at the highest level.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's 2 kind of players. One who didn't do badly for us. He didn't do great. And one who's never been proven at a Premier League level, but he did well against Man United. So maybe that's a sign of things to come for Jed Spence.
Yeah, but you never know. If he hasn't played in Premier League, then you never know his true ability. He hasn't played for a Premier League team. So I think
Be
Walker
cautious about it.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
And what love? Finally, Mousa Dembele announced his retirement from football today at the end of his contract. Obviously, he was a great player for Tottenham. What do you have to say about Mousa Dembele?
That's really. I was really surprised when I heard that because he's quite young. He's like 33,
34.
34.
Yeah.
He's quite young, but I think he had a really good career at Tottenham, so he'll be missing football definitely.
Yeah, I've always had a very high regard for Mousa Dembele. I mean, I remember his midfield partnership with Wanyama that season was Wanyama provided the physicality and Dembele's silky skills sort of drove us through the midfield. We haven't really replaced him. And I know he's not obviously the top replacement, but I mean, what a player he was in full flight. Not many players with that kind of build can do what he did. You know, you maybe think about a Paul Pogba on his day. He's that kind of player. He was very physically present, but also very technically gifted. And I wish him well in his endeavors. 34 in the Chinese league is not young. Don't get me wrong, but it's not completely old. Like you see players going until they're 40. But I hope
it's subjective. But I wish him well.
Yeah.
I hope everything's all good with him.
He was a good player.
I really respect him as a player. He's amazing.
Really good player for Tottenham, and again, I can't rate him highly enough. One of my favourite Tottenham players to ever grace the pitch.
Brilliant. And quickly before you go, score predictions for tomorrow.
2-1.
2-0.
2-0. Who's going to score?
I predict Kane to get one, and maybe might see first goal for Kulu. That's what I'd like to see.
That's exactly what I said, Mikey. And Leah, who do you think is going to score tomorrow?
Probably Kane. I'm not sure for the other goal, but for Southampton, probably Ward-Prowse.
All right. Big up, you two. Thanks for coming on yet again, and we'll see you soon.
See you soon,
Bye,
guys.
See you guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
A super chat to get through from Jaden Molu saying, if we don't get 3 points from this match and Man United take 3 points, we're out of the race as we have Wolves and Man City next. What do you make out of that? Out of the race if we don't win and Man United pick up all 3 points this weekend?
No, we're not out of the race, but it does. It will be a massive setback. But no, we're not. Considering the game, we still have games in hand and everything. We're not out of the race, but yeah, we have. Look, if we want to put ourselves in the driving seat, we have to be taking 3 points in this game.
Definitely. Let's bring on our next guest, and it's Coach Stell. Coach, how are we doing today?
Mousa Dembele.
Mousa Dembele. What a player he was, Coach, wasn't he?
I'm going to put it to you this simply, right? If you ever go down to the Spurs Academy, when they're coaching all the young players there, they teach them loads and loads of skills. They've got the Bale, the Cruyff turn, the Ronaldo chop, the Iron Robin. Every skill, they name it after a great player. And there's one skill they teach, and it's called the Dembele. It's the only skill from a player in recent times that is a Spurs player. That's how good he was.
What is that skill? What is the skill?
So, I imagine the defender standing behind me.
Yeah.
It's when you receive the ball, you step over that way, but then you turn that way.
Oh,
so
yeah, I know what you mean.
Classic
Guys,
Mousa,
classic Dembele.
Mousa.
And so whenever you're a young player at the Spurs Academy, that's the Dembele trick they teach every kid, man. That's legendary status stuff, man. Legendary.
What was your favourite Mousa Dembele moment in the Spurs shirt?
You know what? For me, it was when we played Arsenal at Wembley, when we moved to Wembley Stadium. The way he bossed the entire game for me, it was an outstanding individual performance. And all the Arsenal fans after, I was watching their fan cams, they were all saying, man, we got bullied, we got buoyed, we got owned by Dembele. And it was just a magnificent performance. Just he ran the show, man. He ran the show.
Totally. But obviously a big game coming up this weekend. Not this weekend, tomorrow, Wednesday night at the Tottenham Stadium. Are you confident going into this one, Stel?
Yeah, I am. I think we're a different team at home under Conte as opposed to when we're away from home. I think against the lesser teams or the so-called lesser teams, you can pretty much say we'll win the match. Obviously, football doesn't work like that, but I'm confident. I think we're going to win 3-1. We should have beaten them 3-1 at their ground. It's going to be payback, redemption day. We'll get our 3-1 victory. I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet. And I do agree with that last super chat you read out. If we don't win, I think it really hurts us in the race for top four, because we got to win the home games. The home games are key. You know, away from home is always hard, but you got to be winning your home games. So I kind of agree with that super chat a little bit.
Stel, you were at the away game, weren't you, at St Mary's when
you were
there
the
together?
Game, he was just, don't worry, we're gonna win. Don't worry, we're gonna win.
What? How do we stop that happening? You know, because we ended up with a draw that day, even though they were down to 10 men for half the game. Southampton, you know, really came flying out of the blocks. They got the early goal, and Tottenham came back into it, but ended up only taking a point. But in this game, how do we stop that from happening? How do we make sure we take 3 points in this one?
Well, we actually covered the answer to that question on a tactical analysis show we did. It's the press of Brighton. We need to get past the press, and we're not coached to get past the press. So for me, the best way we should do it is to play Emerson and Reggie high up, out wide, over the halfway line. And when Southampton come onto us, we need to play not long balls, but long passes, high and wide. And that's the space that we'll pick them off, and then Son and Kane run down the middle, and we're in. And even if the players that are out wide, the ball doesn't get to them, it pulls Southampton out of shape, and it opens spaces in the middle to play middle balls down the middle. And if you remember, that's how Kane scored his goal that was disallowed. It was that ball down the middle. We pulled them out wide. That's what I would do, because you know they're going to come and press us. That's how they play their game. There was one other caller, I think.
Mikey.
Yeah, was it Mikey that said we got to start how we did against Brighton, quite aggressive? I agree. Mikey's right. It puts teams on the back foot. And imagine we start, like Mikey said, in front of 62,000 fans. The atmosphere will be electric straight away. So be on the front foot. And when they do press us, play balls long and wide. But Emerson and Reggie have to be high up. Against Southampton, they were too deep. The wing backs, they were too deep in the defensive phase. So that's how we'll do it, guys. I'm confident against Southampton. I think we'll beat them. You know, because we have to beat them. We have to beat them, and we have to beat Wolves, because when we play Man City, you know, we're expecting a loss. You never know, but if before we take a hit, let's get 6 points in the bag.
In the game at St Mary's, I can't remember if it was tactical or if it was enforced, but we did play a bit more of a 3-5-2, if I remember rightly, than the 3-4-3. We kind of played Dele, Winks and Højbjerg in a midfield three, with Son and Kane kind of as strikers in up front. Obviously, in the last game against Brighton, we went with 3-4-3 with Lucas involved. I remember Lucas came on at half-time, if I remember rightly, in the game with St Mary's, and we tried to change things up, but with the way Southampton like to play, they play 4-4-2 with two centre mids. So do you kind of put three centre mids in there to try and dominate the central midfield areas and have the two strikers, or would you have the only two in there and maybe have the three strikers up front?
I'm not a big fan of three up front. I've said it many a time, because I don't see how we get the ball to those front three. If you look at the goals we scored against Brighton, they came from us pressing. They didn't come from us creating anything in the midfield and getting the ball to the strikers. So for me, I prefer when we go two up top and we put three in the middle. I think we're much better with three in the middle, as long as one of those three is more attack minded. So let's say we went, for example, with Bentancur and Højbjerg in the defensive two. I wouldn't want Winks or Skip. Well, I can have Winks as the attacking mid, because I've said that's what I think his best position is. But I wouldn't play Skip or another kind of holding mid type player. I'd play someone a bit more attacking. So maybe Lucas Moura as the
what about Kulu?
Number 10.
Would you consider Kulu there?
Right, very interesting you said that, because I agree with you, Sim. But last night we had Spurs Italia on our show, the Spurs Supporters Club from Italy. And they know, mate, when I mean they know their stuff about football, you know, when you just know to just stay quiet and listen, because they know more than you, right? They were pulling out all these all this deep information on every player in Italy and players that have left Italy and gone to other leagues and what contract situations they're in. I'm thinking, these guys are all like Fabrizio Romano, man. They're on it. And,
So what was he saying last night, Stel?
Well, I said to him, I quite like the idea of Kulu playing as a number 10 from what I saw. And he said to me, do not be underestimated. This guy has got pace. Because I said to him, a lot of Spurs fans are questioning his pace. And he said to me, he has got pace. Give him time to adjust. And without a doubt, his best position is either flank. So if we're going to get the best out of him, if we're going to go by the Italian experts, we need to keep him out wide.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen a lot of Tottenham fans questioning his pace as well, and I've seen him use his pace, and he's definitely a lot quicker than he showed against Brighton. But I think the thing people are frustrated of is not necessarily he didn't show pace, he looked slow. It's the fact that there was a few times where he had space to run into and he just didn't go for it. He kind of checked back and went for a pass instead. So maybe people assumed from that maybe he's slow because he slowed down a few attacks. But no, I agree. He definitely has pace, especially when he's dribbling as well. He's actually very quick with the ball. So would you consider starting? Do you think should be ready by now to start? One of the two or both?
I would start Bentancur because from what I saw, I think he's better than the other two holding mids we've got from what I saw. But again, 15 minutes is very difficult to judge. But if I go off that, I'd start Bentancur for sure. Kulu, I'd probably bring him on as a sub again. I think he needs to get that fitness level up to Premier League level. But who knows? Who knows? Because we're very strange, okay? Bergwijn has a good run of form and then he's dropped. And then he comes on and he's inconsistent. You have players like Emerson. Does he start or will it be Doherty? You know, you never really know what we're going to do. I personally would like Bergwijn to start. And I've been a critic of his, but he just found a bit of momentum and then we took it away from him. It's like, just build the momentum, like build the player. So I'd actually start Bergwijn. But I would like Kulu to come on because the one thing that really stood out for me with Kulu was his decision making in the final third was spot on. He might not have got it right in terms of the technique. There was one or two passes where he played it behind the player, but the decision of where he wants to play the ball, the weight of the pass, and when to do it, yeah. I was actually pleasantly surprised, I have to say.
Let me ask you this, Del. I mean, there's been a lot of questions about our right wing back situation this season. I mean, obviously, a lot of people were very upset that we didn't get one in the January transfer window, but there was one that we let go a few years ago to Southampton in Kyle Walker-Peters. I mean, what's your assessment of him, and would he get into our team right now?
Don't get me started. don't get me. When we got rid of him, I was so gutted, man. Honestly, I know the coaches that developed him. His story is such a wonderful story. And
what is his story?
He was never the best player in the academy. He was never, ever a player that stood out. But he was the first in, the last out. He did everything the coaches told him. He was pure attitude. He remained at Spurs because of attitude. And when all the other players didn't quite break through, his attitude broke him through. And that is the kind of player you want, because we always talk about, Ndombele's got all the talent in the world, but his attitude stinks. Dele Alli, his attitude isn't in football anymore. He's more into gaming and TikTok. Here we've got a player that lives, eats, breathes attitude. A coach can develop the talent. And we let him go. And I was so gutted because I knew he'd come good one day. And all the coaches at Spurs said he'll come good one day. We jumped the gun getting rid of him. But I guess we had to get rid of him to get Højbjerg. And at the time, Højbjerg was an important signing for us. So I guess it's a bit of politics, a bit of business, as opposed to actually trusting a young player that has come good. Funnily enough, now that I've said that, I would take Spence over Kyle Walker-Peters all day long. I think the stature of Spence, the strength, the pace, and the fitness levels, that's everything Conte wants in a player. Like the past two interviews Conte did, he blasted our decision-making in the transfer market. He even had a little pop of Paratici in the summer for what he did. And he said, this is different. This league's completely different. You need when you look at a player and you assess a player, you've got to look at the power of the player, the strength of the player, the fitness. I think Spence ticks a lot of those boxes.
So Walker Peters isn't one you would want to revisit potentially if the opportunity ever arose?
Listen, I'd never say no because I'm just a softie when it comes to our youth players. I'm like that, you know. But I think if he came back, he would be good for us. I don't know if he'd be good enough for a team that Conte wants to build that wins the title. So win a title, and I think, you know, Conte's made it very clear that's what he would like to do. You need a very, very, very good group of players across the squad. And as much as I think Kyle Walker-Peters is good, and I'd love to see him back in a Spurs shirt, I don't know if he's at the level where we want to go to.
Interesting.
All right, Stel, score prediction?
3-1, man.
3-1.
Payback. Redemption day.
Who's going to get the goals?
Reggie own goal, deflected goal. Emerson deflected goal. I think Kane will get one.
He
Son
always
will
scores
get one.
against Southampton, doesn't he?
He's got a good
Kane will
record,
get
yeah.
one. Kane will get one. Kane will get one. Sonny will get one. And I think a random, like a Bergwijn, a Mora, maybe a Kulu scores as well. So I think we'll have 3 different goal scorers. Quick question, guys. Is the Jorical on today, do you know?
Is he in the background, Jorical? Apparently not, no.
Oh, okay. All right. No.
Why'd you ask, Stel? Why'd you ask?
He's my favourite caller.
Okay.
I literally, when he talks, I'm just like this. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. But I thought I'd just
When
figure out.
Jory
But,
talks, you listen. And that's the way it is.
Yeah, and that takes something, right?
100%, especially coming from you, Stel. But look, Stel, thanks a lot for coming on today, my friend, and we'll speak to you very soon.
Probably see you
Come
tomorrow,
on, the
Stel.
Spurs.
Come on.
See you tomorrow. Come on.
Come on.
Love it.
Let's keep going. Our next guest is Michael. How's it going, Michael?
Yes, hello guys, it's fine. Yeah, I'm good. Actually, just woke up like an hour ago. I know it's a bit late, but it's my first free day after passing all my exams on uni. So
congratulations, my friend.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Actually, it's
A well-deserved sleeping.
My last exam session probably. That was because I'm at my 5th year at uni. So I'm just gonna hand in my master's degree and that's it probably.
So is this your breakfast then? We are Tottenham TV call for breakfast.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it.
Not many. Breakfast of champions, some would say.
Okay, so basically the main reason I wanted to call in is that I saw on Instagram Mousa Dembele posted a post that he is not finished yet and that he's going to finish this season. And someone can verify this, but I know that a couple of people in the chat said that too. And I think that he's not finishing right now, just in a half year. But he also said that he will finish after this season. So yeah, the great man is retiring, unfortunately. As you know, I didn't witness him personally. I don't mean like on the stadium, but watching him on TV. But I have highlights, so even better, right? I see only the good with the positives, and I know that he was immense. He was absolutely like mouth-watering skills, and yeah, he was perfect. Actually, I just wish we had him right now with Conte. It would be perfect.
It really would be. It really would be. I mean, I echo those thoughts 100% because he was a very, very special talent. But to be honest, with Mousa Dembele, as much as we all loved him, as much as we all recognise the talents he has, he never actually reached the heights which he should have reached. I mean, he reached it for a certain amount of time, but nowhere near as long as he should have been at the top 4 because the guy was very special. He really was. So it was an unfortunate situation as well as it was like kind of fondly remembered by the fan base as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, also one thing I wanted to say, because I was listening to Styles calling, but I was making tea and, I missed certain parts of it. But I think Styles was talking about playing 3-5-2 and having one attacking midfielder. And I'm not sure if he said that or not, but as far as I know, Kulusevski is quite good at playing, I think it's number 10, right, in front of the two defensive midfielders.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if, for example, like 3-4-1-2 formation would suit Spurs. I just wanted to hear your guys' thoughts about
Yeah, I
it.
mean, at Parma, he played that role quite a bit. He was mostly on the right, but he did play behind two strikers a lot. And I definitely think he has the creativity to do that role in the central areas. But whether that gets the most out of his pace, which I think he does in his dribbling ability, that's maybe what people thinking he's better out wide. But I definitely think if we need him to be there, maybe for certain games, I think definitely he can do a job there, 100%.
Yeah, but so this formation really not widens, shortens our formation so that right wing back and left wing back have even more work to do when we don't have so-called wingers like Son and Lucas on the left and right. So I think it puts even more pressure on Royal and Regi. So I'm not sure if that's a good choice because we all have our doubts about our wing backs. But it's just an option. Like, for example, you can use this formation for 30 minutes of a game, subbing Kulusevski in for Lucas Moura at 60 minutes and using that formation onwards. Maybe that's an idea that could pop up in Conte's mind. But of course, it's Conte, so let him decide that we'll all gently watch what he has to offer.
Would you consider? Do you think the new signings are going to be ready to start tomorrow, or maybe one of them will?
I have a feeling that they won't start. I wish they did, but I think that Conte will give them more time to acclimatize.
Acclimatize, yeah.
Acclimatize, yeah. I am certain that they will get subbed in at certain point, but I'm not sure about starting. I am perfectly sure that they are ready to start, but I just think that Conte will give them more time. That's just my feelings.
Yeah, it's interesting because after this game, we've actually got two massive games coming up in Wolves at home and Man City away. So it actually could be a good opportunity to play one or two of them in terms of with a view to the Wolves and Man City games as well, to know exactly who you can play for those games.
Yeah, I'm actually really scared about the Wolves game. I don't know why, but I have a bad feeling about it because not in terms that we are gonna lose, but every point counts now, and losing 2 points and getting a draw against Wolves is a scary prospect. Hopefully, I will get proven wrong and we will batter them 3-0. Although I doubt that because their goalkeeper is amazing.
Yeah,
Like
Jose
seriously,
Sarr,
Jose
yeah.
Sarr is a perfect goalkeeper, like the next rising star, I think, in the Premier League. But yeah, I'm really scared about facing Wolves. And in terms of a game against City, kind of a write-off in my mind. I'm not sure about your guys' thoughts, but hopefully we can get a draw. It's similar situation to Chelsea away. I think that in this particular moment of a season, that City is on a good run, and we are also on a good run. But come on, it's away
It's
to
Man
Etihad,
City,
so yeah, it's Man City.
So just before we let you go, Michael, what's your score prediction for tomorrow night?
I'm torn between 2-0 and 3-1 because I'm certain that Sonny will get a goal. I hope he didn't waste all his goals for like next 3 years when we beat them 5-2 and he scored 4. I hope he will get another one tomorrow. I think that of course Kane will get one. He's on a perfect form and it's really a joy to watch him. And the reason I'm torn between 2-0 and 3-1 is because we have Romero back and like seriously his performance was so good on the weekend against Brighton that I'm kind of fighting the fact that we will have a clean sheet tomorrow. Because just because of his presence in the defense.
I hope so, Michael. I hope so. Thanks for calling in today once again, and we'll see you very soon.
Yeah, see you guys.
Come on,
see you.
Spurs.
Come on.
All right, who's on next? No one. All right, so I think that brings a close for Good Morning Tottenham today. We'll be back with press conference, Antonio Conte's press conference pre-game. We got predicted lineup coming your way as well today. So another action-packed day of content here at We Are Tottenham TV. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.